Spoiler alert, healing is not Amazon Prime. You don't order metabolism on Monday and get it by Tuesday before 5 p.m. Why do we keep going back to quick fixes, even when we know they don't work? Welcome to the Coach's Hotline. Glucose, grit, and grace. Real talk with coaches, no sugarcoating.
We're here to help you ditch the diet cycle, stabilize blood sugar, and finally feel at home in your body.
Because health isn't about restriction. It's about freedom, energy, and confidence.
Let's dive in. The question that so many women ask, and let's be honest, we've all asked it too, is how long is this going to take? And you're not asking because you're impatient, you're asking because you're exhausted. You've done all the diets, the cleanses, the restarting every Monday, and you've spent years trying to fix your body. And now you're even wondering if it's possible to heal it. All right. Well, that's what we're talking about today on the Health Coaches Hotline, Glucose, Grit, and Grace. We're talking about the real answer. How long does it take to heal a body? So I really would love to start with this. Do you all remember the first time you expected your body to change basically overnight? And what were you hoping for?
I used to literally say, gosh, I wish I could just wake up skinny. That I could go to bed with all my bad habits and all my, dysfunction and just wake up the next morning skinny. And I thought that would solve all my problems.
Yes.
And, we're kind of told that skinny is solving your problems.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the diet culture that tells you if you're skinny, then everything will be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can also remember back in high school, it was like, oh, I lose the weight, I'll be skinny and I'll be popular, So especially in high school. And I even had some of that because I felt like, and when I look at pictures now, it's like I wasn't that heavy at all. And even in grade school, I felt like I was the I hate to use the stereotypes, but the fatty patty in school, and I really wasn't. So it was almost like what you were saying, Elaine. If I could wake up, I'm going to be popular. I'm not going to be the fatty patty anymore. Anyway.
So here's what I find fascinating. You just reminded me about something. How when you were standing in pictures, when you had that feeling that you were always the ugly one or the fat one or whatever, and you looked at that picture then and you're like, ugh. And now you look back at that picture and you're like, and you remember that you felt that way.
Yeah.
But you're like, look how beautiful I looked. Look how good I looked. Or I didn't look as bad as I thought I did or I felt. And then I've had that phenomenon and I'm going, why did I do that to myself? Why did I treat myself that way?
Right.
I actually, until you said something, Elaine, I thought I was the only one that ever felt that way. So thank you for saying that.
No problem. But I think part of that is because we lived for the number on the scale. And I wasn't that 120 pounds or 115 pounds like everyone in high school said they were. So therefore, I was unworthy and I was fat. So, that's where, that number on the scale really doesn't do us any favors.
No, it really doesn't. And it's so interesting because, we didn't know each other growing up, and yet we all have the same story. And in the sense that we've had that same conversation with ourselves when we look at pictures. Why do we think that everybody, at least us, but I'm sure it's truly everybody that's ever dieted, believe that change should be fast? Why do we believe that?
Well, I think we believe it because, again, kind of what we said earlier, if it's fast, it's going to solve all our problems and everything's going to be right with the world. But I also think fast is because we lose interest. We want it to be fast. We want, okay, I'm going to eat chicken and cantaloupe for 2 weeks, and that's going to, make me skinny, and it's going to solve all my problems. And that's why we want it fast, because we want not only the quick gratification, but also that quick knowledge that, okay, I'm doing this right, and it's going to fix everything. So I just don't think we've realized how much we've damaged ourselves by trying to do those quick, what was it? I can't remember the name of the magazine that used to be out, and it was always lose 40 pounds by the end of the month, really?
Yes.
And I bought those because I
Yeah,
wanted to see, I was going to lose 40 pounds by the end of the month.
eat 3 times a day and all. So
Yeah.
I think it also has to do with not only our desire of what we want, but what we've been told and the kind of society that we live in, because we live in a fast results kind of society.
We do.
And even more so now, like with AI, you don't even have to search for an answer for anything. You can just ask AI and it's there immediately. And microwaves cooked our meals fast, and fast food drive-through gave us our food fast. And then Amazon Prime came along and we got stuff not only in 2 days, but sometimes the same day.
Same day.
And now
Yeah.
we're angry or mad if it takes a week to get to us.
Yeah.
We're conditioned to want things quickly.
Yeah. It's so true.
Absolutely. And then how do we think that those quick fix expectations really mess with mindset long term? Because I think that there's some really big implications with that.
I think it's kind of what Elaine was alluding to, is that our expectation is that, I mean, look at when you scroll through your feeds on Instagram or Facebook. You're scrolling like this. I mean, you're going through it, and if something attracts your attention, you'll stop. But we're looking for that. I'm going to say, in some ways, that quick adrenaline rush. What's going to make us feel better? And I want to feel better now. I don't want to wait. So how do I feel better now?
Yeah,
I also think it sets up unrealistic expectations.
for sure.
And
It
so
does.
like if I'm constantly looking for that feel good dopamine hit right now, then turning what I'm doing into a lifestyle for longevity sounds like it's going to take forever. When
Yeah.
I'm in that mindset, and that can really mess with your thoughts.
Yeah.
And I think it can make you feel like a failure, because really, how many people actually lose 20 pounds by Saturday? Right? We're
Right.
promised, but how many of us actually do it? We might lose 1 or 2, and then we feel like a failure. So again, expectations, but then it turns around to, oh, there might be something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I didn't do it right. Maybe I should do it again because I did it wrong, not
Yeah.
understanding that the premise is wrong.
Yeah. And I liked when we were talking before we started recording, Amber, when you made the comment about, I found that thing as lose 20 pounds by Saturday. Oh, perfect. I have until Friday night.
Yes.
It's so true. Oh, I can do this because that gives me an extra day just in case. But, I've got till Friday night. And that is so true. And then we're looking at that, and then we're disappointed when we don't meet that unrealistic goal that we had set.
Yeah, absolutely. Those expectations, they're just so skewed and not attainable. And yet
Right.
we still believe them. I think our brains are really fascinating in that way. So the next thing I wanted to talk a little about, which goes in line with what we've been talking about, is James Clear has an ice cube analogy. And I fully believe that this is the analogy that every woman needs. Have you guys ever had a season where you were doing everything right and it looked like nothing was happening? This absolutely happened to me when my husband and I first started eating PFC3, the protein fat carb every 3 hours. Man, his results came right away. And I knew that we were eating just as clean, or I was probably a little bit cleaner in my eating than he was. And I went through this little period of, oh my God, it's happening again. And I was comparing myself to his results, and I actually got on the phone with my coach. because this was before I became a coach, and goodness gracious, I still need a coach. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, we all do.
Right? But I
Yeah.
got on the phone with her and I was like, what is going on? I know guys lose it faster, but I'm not seeing anything. And she's like, how long have you been dieting? "Oh, about 40 years. Uh-huh. How long has he been dieting? Never.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then every time you dieted during that 40 years, your room got a little bit colder and your body got damaged a little bit more. And so you're healing 40 plus years of dieting right now. And so while you are, I mean, because you've said that you're starting to feel better, you're sleeping better, so you're noticing changes, but your body is still healing. And so you haven't hit that 33 degrees where you start seeing the ice cube melt, but it doesn't mean you're not getting there.
Right.
And that was really eye opening for me, and really helped me not only not compare myself to my husband and others, but know that my body has been, trying to keep me alive for 40 years. And I've been working against it. And now I need to give it some TLC so that it does start healing. And
Yeah.
so that analogy was really powerful for me. What
Could
do you
you
guys think?
Well, I was wondering
Yeah.
first if you would, for our audience,
Hmm.
explain what that ice cube analogy is, because we all
Yeah.
know it because we've been through the program.
Right. No, I'm glad that you brought that up. So, the idea is that if you have an ice cube in a 22-degree room, it's frozen solid, right? If you turn that temperature up 1 degree to 23, it's just like that whole making progress towards melting the ice cube. But at 23 degrees, it's still frozen. And at 24, we're getting closer, but still frozen. And even at 32 degrees, you've moved up 8 degrees. You've made 8 degrees worth of progress, and your ice cube is still frozen. But as soon as you go that one more degree, that's where you start noticing more of a difference. But it took those 8 degrees of warming up before you could get to that 33. And
For
so
sure.
that's
And
that
it's
ice
still,
cube. Yeah, go ahead.
and it doesn't turn into a puddle at 33 degrees. It
No,
will
true.
turn into a puddle at 45 degrees. So there's still
Right.
what place you got to go.
Yeah.
Yes. And so
Absolutely.
even that kind of really clearly illustrates how this isn't a quick fix process,
Right.
because you
Right.
can't go from 22 to 100, which
Yeah.
would put it at a
At
puddle.
a puddle immediately.
But our
Yeah.
bodies don't work that way.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
they're not designed
Right.
to work that way either.
And
Yep.
I think the more you have that metabolic dysfunction from dieting for years and years and years and years, which most of us at this point have, right? We've started
Mhm.
when we were teenagers and now we're in our 50s. That's a long time of
For
dieting.
sure.
50s was average, but it's a long time of dieting.
Yeah.
And for as much as my body went through, I mean, I nearly died 3 times, not from dieting, but from my tubes rupturing because of infertility and stuff like that. And that, I mean, my body was probably Antarctic kind of frozen, right?
Yeah.
So it's taken me a long time.
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, kind of back to the question that you had asked about um, a moment in time. I can tell you that even as much as recently, because like I said, I've been dieting since I was like 13. I found this lifestyle in my, early 60s. So that was a long time my body had gone through shakes and fasting and keto and Weight Watchers and Diet Workshop and, the pills and stuff that we had taken. And where I was really surprised is at first, my body was getting rid of the inflammation,
Mhm.
and that was kind of where that moment that my ice cube was finally melting was when I didn't hurt as much. So it wasn't in the weight. My clothes were getting a little looser, which was awesome. So it was melting a little bit. But when I got up in the morning and I didn't have the pain in my hips and my back, it was like, what's going on? I popped out of bed and I didn't even realize it right away. Okay. So I got out of bed and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Look, I can move. I don't have to sit here for a while to kind of, loosen up. And I was able to get up. And that was my body healing. And like I said, didn't show up in the weight. It didn't show up necessarily that way. It showed up the fact that I was able to move and I didn't hurt.
Which
So
is
that
why
was
we need, I was just going to
yeah,
say that's why we need more data points than just the
yes,
scale, right? Because the scale takes a long.
absolutely.
I've been doing this for a year and a half and my scale has barely budged, but I have a lot of other things that I see are healing. So my
Yes.
first thing that I noticed was my energy. I was sleeping better. And as somebody with thyroid disease, you wake up tired. I wasn't waking up tired. I was waking up before my alarm, and I was actually kind of mad about it because I'm like, this isn't what I'm used to. I'm supposed to sleep till 9, and here I am awake at 6:30 on my own. This is weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing when you start seeing those things. And those are the things we have to remember too, as we're going through
Absolutely.
the process. We can't forget those. No, you're fine. Good.
Right.
Well, and that's that invisible progress. Like everybody expects to see change. Like if you say, "Oh, hey, I'm doing this new thing." They're going to look for your physical change. But we know that as your body is healing, there are so many invisible progress markers. And I think it's really important that we not only notice them, but we celebrate them,
Definitely.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. My husband um, used to joke about how, well, everybody's gluten free now. And I was like, and there are some reasons. And then we did the jump start and he cut out gluten and then he put gluten back in and he was feeling amazing. His joints were good to go. And then he put gluten back in and he goes, I think I might be sensitive to gluten. I was like, oh, you're jumping on the bandwagon. Yeah.
Sometimes we can't see the progress we've made until we start to feel icky again. Like
Yes.
when we've let, like, over the holidays, we sometimes, or on special occasions, sometimes we let foods back into our diet that we know our bodies didn't like, but we're going to eat them because it's the holidays or it's an appreciation meal or whatever. And then
Right.
we wake up in so much pain and joint hurts and no
Yeah.
energy or, gastric problems. And we're like,
Oh,
oh,
that's
I
why
have
I don't
come
eat
so
that.
far. I used to go all the time.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that invisible progress goes both ways. You're like, oh, that's why I stopped eating gluten. Good to know.
Yeah.
But then at that point in time, you're able to listen to your body,
Yeah. You can
and
hear
which
it.
is really exciting because that callus that our mentor Carrie talks about, that callus has been removed, and so now we can listen to our bodies, and that is so powerful, And so it's like, you know what, I have this meal, and it does have gluten in it. It's an appreciation meal. It's a one-time thing. I know I'm probably going to be a little bit sore when I get up in the morning, and then you ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Exactly.
Yes.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. You get to
Yeah.
make that choice. And here's a question for us coaches. When clients ask, how long is this going to take? What do you hear underneath that question?
Oh, I hear quiet desperation, right? Because usually when clients come to us, they have had, like us, years and years and years and years of dieting. And they're
Yeah.
probably at the point where they just want to feel better.
Yeah.
And they don't want to wait to feel better. They want to feel better now. How do you
And I
feel?
think, yeah, what I'm thinking, what I feel like is that in some cases, it's okay, everything else is supposed to be fast. I need this to be fast. So I think it's a lot of changing that mindset, kind of what you said, Amber, when you had your coach about, your body has been in distress for so long. It's
Mhm.
going to take a little bit for us to be able to make it right and to let it heal. And that's where I kind of feel like people they don't understand because they felt like themselves as a failure. So it's
Mhm.
all been put on them. They don't have the motivation. They don't have the willpower. And so I think for me, it's that they don't really understand where their body's at.
Mhm.
So that's a whole big different type of learning and realization that I think a lot of people need to realize that it doesn't have to do that they didn't fail, that they're not the, it's the way we've been taught, okay? That if we eat the cabbage soup for a week, we're look spectacular, by Christmas or whatever. And it's just knowing that education about what our bodies need and what it needs to heal, because our bodies are awesome computers. I mean, they are basically a computer, and our brain is that part that kind of navigates it all. But we also, the brain's only dealing with the information that all the other parts of our body are giving it. And people need, I just really want our listeners to realize it's not what you're not doing anything wrong. Okay. We just need to change our mindset. We need to realize that our bodies need to heal, and it's not an overnight process.
For sure. What do you wish you heard when you were her, when you were that client that came to you, or when you were younger, and wanted that quick fix and just wanted to feel better? What do you wish somebody would have told you?
The quicker the fix, the quicker you have to start over and do it again. And if you actually do it right the first time, you don't have to do it again.
Yeah.
I think it took me a long time to realize that what I'm putting in my body was not the healthy stuff. And it took me many, many years to realize that, finally I started seeing that correlation between all of the ingredients that I couldn't pronounce in my food and all of the additives. So I wish someone would have told me a lot more about I call it clean and green, or green and clean. That the closer we are to the natural part of the food, to where it's less processed, that the better off it is for us. So I really wish someone would have told me, or I had that knowledge. And I don't think we all had that knowledge, 40 years ago, but I guess that's just what I wish, looking at my earlier self, that we would have had that knowledge at that point.
And for me, finding the science behind blood sugar stabilization and what is happening to your body when your blood sugar is spiking and when it's low, too low, and how hard your body is fighting to be that homeostasis in the middle. That knowledge changed everything for me, because it put a reason behind what works and what doesn't work, and why quick fixes don't work, because very often quick fixes lead us into a deprivation state where our blood sugar falls, and then our body is like metabolizing our muscles, and so that's why it gets worse.
Yeah, that was surprising to me when I realized that I wasn't burning fat, I was burning my muscle. I'm like, I never knew that, that I was going to burn the muscle before I was going to burn the fat. I guess in my mind, maybe I'd been taught differently, but in my mind, it's like, oh, you're always going to burn fat first,
Right.
and that's not true.
Because that's what they tell you. You do cardio to burn fat. Well,
Exactly.
That's a whole nother episode, but
it is, but
right. Well, and even like I was talking to someone the other day, and she's like, oh, I've been fasting and I've lost 50 pounds. And the first thing now, because before my brain would have said, oh my God, you lost 50 pounds of fat. Now, as a coach, now that I know better, I wonder how much of that was muscle because you were fasting.
Yeah,
but I think because we want it to be fat, we assume that that's what's coming off first.
Yeah.
And physiologically, our bodies just don't work like that.
I just never realized, and again, this may be naivety, that and again, like you said, it's probably another episode, Elaine, but I didn't realize you could I knew you could lose muscle, but I guess I didn't realize how you lost it, because I always thought you burned fat. So, that whole knowledge thing is just so powerful.
Yeah. I kind of thought your muscles just atrophied. They just got weak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's a good way. Yep.
Yeah. But really, your body uses what it needs to if you're not giving it to it.
That's right.
Wow. Deep stuff, guys.
It is. Right? So, if we're being really honest about what slowed our healing the most, not eating enough, stress, skipping meals, perfectionism, what was that for you?
All of the above. I think one of the things that slowed my healing down the most was unlearning everything that I had learned about dieting and about what healthy was and about how I should be eating. That was the biggest struggle for me because I was all of a sudden eating fruit and carbs, and I was eating every 3 hours. And all of that went against what I thought was supposed to make me skinny.
Yeah. What about you, Elaine?
For me, I think it was that muscle loss that we were talking about because I
Mhm.
had been doing HCG shots and pills for almost a year. So you were eating 800 calories a day, maybe. I think most of it is 5 to 600. 800
Mhm.
is like a good day, right?
Appreciation meal.
Right, right. And you're not eating enough. And so my muscle loss was so bad, my hair was falling out because I
Oh
was so
no.
protein deficient. And I thought it was just like because of the Hashimoto's, but it wasn't. It was, I mean, my hair would come out in clumps when
Oh.
my ponytail was like this big. And I thought, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, because I used to have so much hair. That something is wrong. And then I had to have hip surgery, and it took me like almost a year to recover from the hip surgery because my muscles could not do it. I could not get out of bed for 4 days after the hip surgery. My husband literally had to move my legs for me because I had no
Wow.
muscle. And so I think it took a while for my body to trust me again. I think
Yes.
that because it was like, okay, you're finally feeding me. I'm going to store all this stuff because I don't know if I'm going to get it again.
Right.
And I think that that's why it has taken me this long to finally, in fact, like a month ago, I finally told my husband, I'm like, I think my ice cube's melting because I'm seeing some changes in my physique finally after all of
Right.
this. But I know that the program worked way before I started seeing those changes, way before I started losing clothing sizes because of all the other wins that I was able to identify.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. I think for me, it was the fact that what slowed me down was we've always been taught that we should eat less calories, that we need to deprive ourselves of everything that we think we love. Okay. And that was the only way that we were going to lose weight, which is what our goal was at the time.
right.
So I think, the fact that, and we've been taught that nothing thrives in a deprivation. So depriving ourselves and counting those calories or points or whatever you were counting, that is what really slowed me down. Because I can tell you when I learned this and I'm like, I'm going to be eating every 3 hours. So that means if I'm up at 6 a.m., I could be having 6 meals a day. And that was like mind boggling to me. Exactly. That where
Too much.
before,
It's too
yeah,
many
I'm
calories. Yeah.
yeah, it's too many calories. It's too many meals. When I was used to maybe eating 2 meals a day, you know, I would skip breakfast and then I would have lunch and maybe have a late dinner, and that was it. So I think that's what really slowed me down. Because, like you said, Elaine, my body didn't trust me that it was going to get food.
Mhm,
Mhm.
So it was holding on to what I was doing, which
mhm.
totally seems counterintuitive, right?
Absolutely. All right, ladies, let's close this session out with heart. If a woman came to you and asked, how long will it take my body to heal? What would you say to her?
I think for me, I would tell them that is all going to depend. It's going to depend on how long has your body been in distress, but at the same time, we've got to look at the healing and what that does. And
Mhm.
like you said in the beginning, Amber, we're not Amazon Prime. Our bodies aren't Amazon Prime. It is not going to deliver by 5 p.m. the next day.
Mm-mm.
Um, so we have to be patient, and we have to take all of the different things that our bodies are feeling, and that is all a win.
Mhm.
So, we really have to look at those small things, not necessarily weight as a goal or not weight as a goal, but, what else is it we want to achieve? Is it longevity? Is it being able, mine, when I first started this, was being able to get up off the floor after I was playing with my grandkids. Because you know how we've all said, oh, I'm getting older, I can't get up like I did. You know, now I can actually get up off the floor without having to hold on to something. So, you know, and that's all part of healing. And I think our body heals it's always healing. So there's always small parts that we can change. So anyway, I know that was
our bodies are so resilient. To
They are.
dovetail on what you're saying, Elaine, I would ask, I would say let's define healing. Is healing a number on the scale to you, or is healing being able to wake up before your alarm, or getting a good night's sleep, or not having your joints hurt anymore, or not craving sugar? Because those things will happen before that number on the scale. And so let's really look and decide what healing means.
Right. Very good.
Yeah, that's so powerful. You know, and I think I would stress to the people I'm talking to about how long will it take is that healing isn't a deadline. And which is counterintuitive to the lose 20 pounds by the end of the month, because that's a deadline, right?
Right.
But it's not a deadline, it's a direction. And you might be at 27 degrees today, but that doesn't mean that nothing's happening. Your job is to simply continue turning up the dial. Prepared, not perfect. Consistent, not chaotic. And supported, not alone. So if this episode hit home for you, if you found yourself nodding, laughing, or whispering, ouch, that's me, do us a favor. Hit like, subscribe, and share this with a friend who's trying to heal her body too. We're out here trying to help women stop restarting every Monday and finally feel at home in their bodies. And your shares help more than you know. So thank everyone for being here with us. Thank you for choosing messy progress over perfection. And thank you for being a part of this community where healing isn't rushed, it's supported and loved. We'll see you next week. And remember, balance isn't boring, it's freedom.
Yes.
Bye.